There's a quiet financial storm that's crushing millennials and Gen X. And I'm not talking about coffee and avocado toast. In this video, we're going to cover exactly why it's getting harder to survive even with a decent job. From rent that's rising faster than wages, to the cost of education that's outpacing inflation, to a credit system that traps you in debt just for trying to keep up. We're covering it all, and more importantly, we're getting into some real solutions that you could take today to protect your financial future. For generations, the American dream was about stability. Go to school, get a job, buy a house, raise a family, retire with a pension. Now that dream is not just fading, it's vanishing. According to a report by the Federal Reserve, millennials are earning 20% less than boomers did at the same stage of life when adjusted for inflation. And there's an article by the Tribune that said millennials are the most educated, yet the most broke. Meanwhile, the Gen X, the so-called forgotten generation, they're hitting their 40s and 50s with more debt than savings, and they're squeezed between caring for their aging parents and supporting their adult children. And regardless to what you hear people say, it's not about laziness or making poor financial decisions. It's that the rules have changed and the math no longer works for these generations. From 1970 to today, worker productivity in the United States has grown over 86%. That means you have to work longer and harder. But wages, that has increased by about 31%. Let that sink in. We are working longer, smarter, and harder, but not getting paid proportionally more. Meanwhile, prices are skyrocketing. The cost of groceries rose over 25% from 2019 to 2023 and into 2025. Health insurance premiums are up over 55% in the last decade, and childcare, for many, is now more expensive than rent or college tuition. In 1980, the average home price in the United States was around $80,000. Now, adjusted for inflation, that would be around $290,000 in today's money. But as of the fourth quarter in 2024, the median home price in the United States was $419,000. And renting, no better. The national average for a one-bedroom apartment in the United States has significantly increased since 2020. And just this past year alone, places like Hartford, Connecticut and Cleveland, Tennessee has seen an annual increase of almost 7%. Many millennials now spend more than 50% of their income in housing, and this leaves very little for saving or emergencies. But it doesn't stop there for these generations. I think not a lot of people talk enough about the crushing cost of higher education. In the 80s, the average in-state tuition for a public college was under $1,000. Today, depending on where you are, it could be between $8,000 to $10,000 a year. And private colleges, we're talking about between $40,000 and $50,000 a year. Even adjusted for inflation, college has more than tripled in cost, and the wages for college graduates have not remotely kept up. I know some people who did not go to college that are getting paid more than the ones that did go to college doing the same job function. And because of these high tuition costs, we now have something like $1.7 trillion in student loan debt here in America. And what makes it worse is that borrowers are now paying off for degrees that didn't really offer them a high return on their investment because of low wages and underemployment. And therefore, debt has become the new normal. It's not just student debt, but millennials and Gen X are increasingly using their credit cards to fill in the gaps between paychecks. In 2024, credit card debt in the US hit an all-time high of $1.13 trillion. But here's the kicker. Interest rate now is about 20% on average. And that's financial quicksand. The more you rely on credit to survive, the harder it is for you to ever get ahead. And now we have the buy now, pay later option for everything from sneakers to sandwiches. And this normalizes the debt dependency. Now, before we dive into some solutions, let me take a quick minute to tell you about this single mom that I recently worked with. By the way, if you have a financial situation where you need an opinion on, you can actually connect with me. I'll put a link in the description below. This single mom, she was working full-time at a nonprofit, and she was also freelancing on the side just to stay afloat. She had a master's degree, and with that came a $80,000 student loan debt. She was living in a one-bedroom apartment with her daughter, and her rent just went up by $400. Then her car broke down and she didn't have the $1,200 to fix it, so she ended up putting that on her credit card. Now, her credit card already had a balance, so now the card was totally maxed out. It was one unfortunate situation after the next. Maybe some of you can relate. So she said to me, Anthony, I do all that I'm supposed to do. I work hard. I'm not out there buying luxury stuff. I budget. But yet, it still feels like I'm drowning and nobody cares. And that broke me a little bit because I could hear the shakiness in her voice. And I could totally empathize with her. I remember being in a similar situation. She wasn't lazy or financially irresponsible. She just didn't know what else to do and was just tired, like so many other people out there. So we talked about some small practical shifts like the ones we're about to go through right now. All right, let's be real. The system feels rigged, but that doesn't mean you have to be powerless. So let's talk about a few things that can actually help real people in real life without needing to be rich, lucky, or a financial wizard. You want to start by making your money move automatically. If managing your money feels overwhelming to you, you want to take your emotions out of it and automate it. Split your paycheck as soon as it hits your account. For example, a little to savings, a bit to pay down debt, and the rest for bills and living. This is like putting your finances on autopilot. You don't have to rely on willpower, you're building habits. And this helps because the truth is, most of us aren't overspending, we're just exhausted. And automation is your backup brain. You also want to add a second income stream. Now, side hustle talk can sometimes feel overwhelming. But this doesn't mean having 5 jobs or starting a business, just finding one way to bring in some extra income each month. Even an extra $200 a month can help with groceries or help knock down debt faster. And with the rising cost of, well, everything, this can be your financial pressure relief valve. You also want to start investing. Yes, even if you're broke. If you've got $25, $10, $5, you want to start building the habit of investing using apps like Fidelity, Schwab, SoFi. And here is why this matters and why this is important. It's because millennials and Gen X missed out on the pensions that our parents had. And investing is how you make up for it. It's how your money works for you while you sleep. All right, the next one might hit a nerve. But stop trying to look rich to impress other people. Let's be real. Social media can sometimes make us feel like we are behind when we see people on all these exotic vacations or buying houses or buying these new cars. Meanwhile, they could just be swiping their credit cards and getting into debt. So don't fall for it. Don't fall for the fake wealth. Don't go broke trying to impress other people. All right, you want to be smart with debt. You have options. That doesn't mean that you've failed. It could mean that life got expensive and it got expensive real fast. Try this. Use a 0% APR credit card offer to move balances and buy yourself some time. Start with the smallest balance and knock it out first, aka the debt snowball method. Look up income-driven student loan repayment plans. Some people qualify for forgiveness but don't even know it. The point is, you don't need to pay everything at once. You just need a plan, and a plan that works for you and not against you. All right. You want to pay attention to where you're leaking money. Now, cutting coffee is fine. I'm all for it. But if you want to see real results, you want to focus on the big stuff. Can you negotiate your rent when your lease is up? Can you drop that subscription you forgot you even had? Can you switch car insurance or cut the gym you never go to? These are the changes that will move the needle. So focus on the big stuff that is draining your wallet. And let me know in the comments below which of these 6 strategies you think you could start doing to improve your financial future. Here's the bottom line. The game has changed and the old advice doesn't work anymore. And honestly, it's not your fault, but knowing how the system works helps you start playing smarter. You can't fix everything overnight, but you can start building small systems, cut big expenses, and start thinking about money differently. And if you want to know my honest advice for anyone wanting financial freedom, even in this economy, click on the on-screen video where I break it all down, and I'll see you there.